Hello, squirrel listeners. I'm all dude up from the Christmas in July video that I just did. Hope you caught it. Hope you enter if you're not already if you're not a fairy. And you can always do a flyby if you're a fairy. I don't mind that. It is time for our reading. I think it's going to be a real quickie. Sorry that the last one I did was, I was so thirsty. Have my tea here tonight. Hope I have enough. But it's short, so. And I really thought about coming right back on with the next one, but I'm sleepy. So. And I need to get cracking on some whips. Anyway, here we go. Same, whatever chapter we were on, 6 maybe. Can we go back and read the last paragraph, I think? Trying to, but there are so many things to remember all at once. Keep time, steer straight, dodge the petticoats, and manage my confounded legs that it isn't easy to get on at first, answered Mac with a sigh of exhaustion, wiping his hot forehead. Hardest job I ever undertook, and as I'm not a battering ram, I decline to be knocked around any longer, growled Steve, dusting his knees and ruefully surveying the feet that had been trampled on till they tingled, for his boots and broadcloth were dear to the heart of the dapper youth. Very good of you, and I'm obliged. I've got the pace, I think, and can practice with a chair to keep my hand in, said Mac with such a comic mixture of gratitude and resignation that Rose went off again so irresistibly that her cousins joined her with a hearty roar. As you're making a martyr of yourself in my service, the least I can do is lend a hand. Play for us, Steve, and I'll give Mac a lesson, unless he prefers the chair. And throwing off her hat and cloak, Rose beckoned so invitingly that the gravest philosopher would have yielded. 1,000 thanks, but I'm afraid I shall hurt you, began Mac, much gratified, but mindful of past mishaps. I'm not. Steve didn't manage his train well, for good dancers always loop theirs up. I have none at all, so that trouble is gone, and the music will make it much easier to keep step. Just do as I tell you, and you'll go beautifully after a few turns. I will. Pipe up, Steve. Now, Rose, and brushing his hair out of his eyes with an air of stern determination, Mac grasped Rose and returned to the charge, bent on distinguishing himself if he died in the attempt. The second lesson prospered, for Steve marked the time by a series of emphatic bangs. Mark obeyed orders as promptly as if his life depended on it, and after several narrow escapes at exciting moments, Rose had the satisfaction of being steered safely down the room and landed with a grand pirouette at the bottom. Steve applauded, and Mac, much elated, exclaimed with artless candor, "There really is a sort of inspiration about you, Rose. I always detested dancing before, but now, do you know, I rather like it. I knew you would, only you mustn't stand with your arm round your partner in this way when you're done. You must seat and fan her if she likes," said Rose, anxious to perfect a pupil who seemed so lamentably in need of a teacher. "Yes, of course, I know how they do it." And releasing his cousin, Mac raised a small whirlwind around her with a folded newspaper so full of zeal that she had not the heart to chide him again. "Well done, old fellow. I begin to have hopes of you, and will order you a new dress coat at once, since you're really going in for the proprieties of life," said Steve with the magic with the magic stool and the approving nod of one who was a judge of said proprieties. Now, Rose, if you will just coach him a little in his small talk, he won't make a laughing stock of himself as he did the other night, added Steve. I don't mean his geological gabble, that was bad enough, but his chat with Emma Curtis was much worse. Tell her, Mac, and see if she doesn't think poor Emma had a right to think you a first-class bore. I don't see why, when I merely tried to have a little sensible conversation, began Mac with reluctance, for he had been unmercifully chased by his cousins, to whom his brother had betrayed him. What did you say? I won't laugh if I can help it, said Rose, curious to hear, for Steve's eyes were twinkling with fun. Well, I knew she was fond of theater, so I tried that first and got on pretty well till I began to tell her how they manage those things in Greece. Most interesting subject, you know. Very. Did you give her one of the choruses or a bit of Agamemnon, as you did when you described it to me? Asked Rose, keeping sober with difficulty, as she recalled that serio-comic scene. Of course not, but I was advising her to read Prometheus when she gaped behind her fan and began to talk about Phoebe. What a nice creature she was, kept her place, dressed according to her station, and that sort of twaddle. I suppose it was rather rude, but being pulled up so short confused me a bit, and I said the first thing that came into my head, which was that I thought Phoebe the best dressed woman in the room, because she wasn't all fuss and feathers like most of the girls. Oh, Mac, that to Emma, who makes it the labor of her life to be always in the height of fashion, and was particularly splendid that night. What did she say? Cried Rose, full of sympathy for both parties. She bridled and took daggers at me. What did you do? I bit my tongue and tumbled out of one scrape into another. Following her example, I changed the subject by talking about the charity concert for the orphans. And when she gushed about the little darlings, I advised her to adopt one and wondered why young ladies didn't do that sort of thing instead of cuddling carts and lap dogs. Unhappy boy, her pug is the idol of her life and she hates babies, said Rose. More fool she is. Well, she got my opinion on the subject anyway. And she's very welcome, for I went on to say that I thought it would not only be a lovely charity, but excellent training for the time when they had little darlings of their own. No end of poor things die through the ignorance of mothers, you know, added Mac so seriously that Rose dared not smile at what went before. Imagine Emma trotting round with a pauper diaper under her arm instead of her cherished Toto, said Steve with an ecstatic twirl on the stool. Did she seem to like your advice, Monsieur Malapropos? I probably screwed that up. Asked Rose, wishing she had been there. No, she gave a little shriek and said, Good gracious, Mr. Campbell, how droll you are. Take me to Mama, please. Which he did with a thankful heart. Catch me setting her pug's legs again, ended Mac with a grim shake of the head. Never mind, you were unfortunate in your listener that time. Don't think all girls are so foolish. I can show you a dozen sensible ones who would discuss dress reform and charity with you and enjoy Greek tragedy if you did the chorus for them as you did for me, said Rose consolingly. For Steve would only jeer. Give me a list of them, please, and I'll cultivate their acquaintance. A fellow must have some reward for making a teetotum of himself. I will have pleasure, and if you dance well, they will make it very pleasant for you, and you'll enjoy parties in spite of yourself. I cannot be a glass of fashion and a mold of form like Dandy here, but I'll do my best, only if I had my choice. I'd much rather go round the streets with an organ and a monkey, answered Mac despondently. Thank you kindly for the compliment, and Rose made him a low curtsy while Steve cried, Now you've gone and done it, in a voice, in a tone of reproach, which reminded the culprit all too late that he was Rose's chosen escort. By the gods, so I have, and casting away the newspaper with a gesture of comic despair, Max strode from the room, chanting tragically the words of Cassandra. Woe, woe, O earth, O Apollo, I will dare to die. I will accost the gates of Hades and make my prayer that I may receive a mortal blow. That's the end of chapter 6. Chapter 7's called Phoebe, and we'll get to that tomorrow. It's a little longer than I thought, but not too long. Sorry about all the parts. Me and my sleep. Okay, I know it's getting late. Have a good night. I hope you have a nice sleep. I've been sleeping in the chair, and I'll probably fall right back to sleep. I'm going to try to stay awake and get some stitching done. Love y'all. See you later. Be sweet, don't be ugly. Bye-bye.